now it's time to talk Potter.
I know.
Sorry, Wesley.
I know. I'll probably still play.
I'm surprised you didn't. Did you think to name Wesley something Potter related?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
But
what is Wesley?
It's like a misspelling of a character in it.
Weasley.
Yeah, there you go. The Weasleys.
Ron Weasley.
Yeah.
Oh, I know all about Ron Weasley. I've read chapters 4 through 7.
Oh, that's true. That's true. We can actually get into that. Yeah,
brothers and his little sister and their round, helpful mother who was at the train station.
Yeah, and they called her round. I felt so bad for Mrs. Weasley. They called her like a round.
No, I don't think it was like a derogatory thing. She's just like a happy, plump woman.
She is. She's so great. But Wes is, he's kind of the inspiration. Really, the name just stuck because my nephew liked it. And he was like, what about Wesley? I was like, yeah, it's great. And then it came all sort of like Wesley Snipes. I call him Snipes sometimes. Wesley, call him Ron
Harry?
Weasley. I kind of like human names for dog names, to be honest. Like, it's kind of a cool thing. But
surprised you didn't
Harry,
name him Harry.
I know. I was going to name him Vernon. No, I'm just kidding. He's going to want to play the whole entire time we're chatting. Molly
We didn't do the official intro yet.
We don't do it until we have like a little. So we don't do that until we have a short discussion on something fun. This is the warm up. So we.
Oh my gosh.
We always have to have like.
You have a formula.
Yeah. The formula is like a lead, like something funny or something fun, something quick, some short discussion on something, and then we do that. Welcome to the podcast. I'm John. And then I'm Abbie, and then we do the podcast, and then we go into the meat of it. Come on, you gotta, you really gotta
build up to it.
Yeah,
I'm new at this.
You're a first year. Here. You're such a first year.
Yeah. I love that. Everyone's
I know.
First year.
You're all gonna get these references that I'm saying now. This is great.
Yeah, I actually already have predictions of questions you're going to ask me based off of the chapters I read.
You know the houses now, right? Well, you knew them before, but what house do you think what is your favorite house? What house do you want to be in?
I have to say I'm a little bit curious. I hope I'm not a Slytherin. No offense to all the Slytherins out there. Look how you're like sucking me into your little twisted world.
I know this is like this is the greatest thing, and you're kind of into it. You're kind of into it, aren't you?
I'm curious, but it does pain me a little bit to hear myself say and think these things. Like,
actually enjoy it.
I hope I'm not Slytherin. No offense. I mean, I don't really know anything about them. I just hope I'm not Slytherin. I don't know. It's cool because Ravenclaws, they said, are like wise, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the descriptors.
I definitely think you have a little Ravenclaw in you, to be honest. I think
I feel like though, like Hufflepuff. What is Harry? Oh, Harry Potter's Gryffindor. But remember, years ago, you had me take some quiz, and I thought that I was Hufflepuff, but I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember there was something like loyal, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that tracks." And I think that was Hufflepuff.
I think you are a Hufflepuff. I think that's like the main thing that you have. The only thing you're like a mix of Hufflepuff and Griffin, or Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw, because you're wise, but you're also very, very loyal, and like hardworking. Maybe not so hardworking. Get
out of here.
No, I was just kidding. But when I took this, and I think I was a Gryffindor when I took it with you, because I get the mix between the two sometimes, and that's why you were like, oh, I'm not a Gryffindor, because
you were definitely Gryffindor at that time, because you were absolutely boasting about how you were the same as Harry Potter. I absolutely remember that.
No, but I am
anything about anything.
I am a very pure Hufflepuff right now, and I am so proud of Hufflepuff House.
Interesting.
So we'll get more into house discussion in a bit, but welcome to the podcast. I'm John.
I'm Abbie.
And this is Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. Hey everyone, as always, go check us out on our socials. It's all first time readers on YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, Patreon, Instagram, all the stuff. We have a PO box, which is PO Box 474, Hawthorne, New Jersey 07507. And that's pretty much it. This is season 2. We are slowly, or not slowly, we're getting back to season 1. We're going to finish season 1 very shortly because Danny and Jen are getting back from their honeymoon this week, and we're going to start reading and probably recording in the next 2 weeks. So we're very excited for that. And that's pretty much all I got. So enjoy this season of slowly wearing down Abbie to the point where she really likes Harry Potter. That's the goal. No, I'm just kidding. I'm trying to get it back off a little bit so she can breathe and she can actually enjoy the series herself. That's the real ultimate goal. So enjoy chapters 4 to 7 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
And here we go.
You can say
Chapters.
that. Yeah, you can say that after every single time we do that. And here we go.
Here we go. Chapters 4 to 7.
Yes.
We read quite a bit. There's a lot happening. I was ready to talk about it after chapter 4 because I was like, I knew it.
Okay. Wait, can you just do me a quick inventory can you gauge where your interest level is? Has it risen or has it like stayed the same? Has it decreased?
It's stayed the same. There are times that I'm like, this is a little much. Like, I mean, we'll go through the different chapters, but I feel like I have a good grasp of like what it is I'm reading. And is your arm about to fall off?
Yeah, Wes is literally ripping my arm off.
Your arm was about to come out of its socket.
He's just looking at me like I'm an idiot.
I feel like I understand what it is I'm reading and like it is what it is. And so I like it. I don't really get why like everyone's obsessed with it yet. I know we're only 7 chapters in, but there's a few things that I was like, okay, like when they talk about the bank being guarded by goblins. For some reason, goblins, I was like, okay. And then later,
I can imagine you at certain parts of it just rolling your eyes, being like, this is too much for me.
That's a little, goblins for some reason was a little, I'm down with dragons, like, but goblins. And then when they describe the wands and like one was made with unicorn hair, I was like, that sounds like Rainbow Bright, you know, like I don't really need all that. But I'm enjoying it.
I think one thing
I don't really get it yet. It hasn't
really, like, for sure. It hasn't like sunk in.
Sell my soul.
It might not happen for a while. To be honest, and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. It may never happen. You may never truly love these books.
Look how you're just backtracking every single time. For years you said, oh, you're going to be obsessed with it like everyone. You're going to love it. It's going to be just a matter of time before you have a Hufflepuff set of books. And now you're like, you may not like it. You may not be obsessed with it.
And I'm just saying this to appease you. Because I do think you're going to love it. I think it might take people longer than typical. Like I usually say around books 1 and 2, sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult to get into them. And then book 3 is really where the plot kind of picks up. Same thing with 4, 5, 6, 7. That's where like I keep saying this to everyone, but like every book gets better than the one before when you're reading these. And the first 2 sometimes are hard to get through. Not hard, but just like they're not as exciting as the.
So one of my questions, actually, this is a good time to bring it up. Can book 1 stand alone? Like, did she write the whole series knowing it would be a full series, or did it just start with like one book and then she just kept building on it type thing?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's like a yes and answer for that one. She initially knew that she was writing 7 books. Like 100% she knew she was writing 7 books, but each book kind of is its own standalone book. Each book is like a little parenthesis for the whole series. It does wrap up somewhat neatly at the end of each book, but there's like more questions that you have that push you into the next book to figure out what's happening. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that she does exceptionally well. Each book is its own little thing. But you couldn't really pick up book like 7 and just start book 7 and really understand most of what's going on.
Yeah.
But each book does have its own like start and finish. And it's not just like there are like each book kind of is a cliffhanger to the next one, but it's a closed story. You you're satisfied at the end of it.
Okay. Because as I'm reading things, I'm like, I bet he's going to ask about this. But then the way I'm thinking about certain things kind of depends on, is the writer thinking of book 7 in book 1? I don't know that. So
yes, 100%. She knew exactly where she was going with the series. It wasn't like some of these other books or like TV series that they don't know where they're going. Like Lost is a great example of that for me. You ever watched Lost? I don't think you ever. I think you made fun of me for not watching Lost or something. That was a show that I feel like they didn't know where the heck they were going with that show. And it ended terribly. This is one where I feel like she knew exactly where she was going, and it ends exceptionally rememberable. Yeah. I just had a way. Yeah, there you go.
In a very memorable
way. I just had a stroke right there.
Rememberably.
So that's why I think the series has stood some of the test of time, because the ending is just real. It's not, I'm not going to say if it's good or bad, but it's just really, it sticks with you. Because everything at the very end, like all your questions are answered for certain things. It's like, wow, that was like a great whole series. And finally I get all my answers. It wasn't like she fumbled the bag on that.
Okay.
But let's get into some of the meat discussion here. Can you give me a quick summary for chapter 4? What happens in chapter 4?
Yes, I can. So, well, it's been a while since I've read 4. I feel like that was like a whole week ago.
Yeah.
Some of them blend together in my mind, maybe. But
right.
4 is when Hagrid. Oh, 4 is when Hagrid. Is that when Hagrid comes into the little cabin for the first time?
The title is Keeper of the Keys.
That's where we left off.
Yep.
Yeah. So Hagrid comes into the cabin, like explains to Harry why he's there. One of my favorite lines is in this chapter where the way he talks about Dudley, the other little boy.
Yeah.
He calls him your great puddin' of a son.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful line.
You're going to just like the insults that he throws at characters.
I love a good, like, beautiful little burn. And that was chef's kiss. Hagrid comes in, like, tells Harry why he's there, invite him to Hogwarts. Harry has no idea about anything. Hagrid comes in and like sets a campfire and starts like cooking sausages.
Yeah.
And he gives one to Harry, and I thought that was kind of precious. Like, it's the most delicious thing Harry had up until that point in his life. I liked that moment too. And then I guess they just go back and forth a lot with like the parents. Harry's asking questions, and it ends with like Hagrid's going to take him to get his stuff for Hogwarts.
Yeah. Great. You're fantastic with summaries.
It's a great chapter. And yeah, the icing on the cake is really like what he says to Dudley when he comes in, or he's talking to the dad about Dudley, like, your great puddin' of a son. And then at the end, when he turns him into a pig.
Yeah, it was so perfect. You're like, finally, you don't know the family that much, but you're like, finally, they get something what they deserve.
It's so good. And it said that like it didn't take much because he was basically already a pig. Yeah. that was a nice little quip. I like that.
We're going to talk about that a lot. The chapter opens up and it's like a funny little thing with Dudley. It goes, boom. They knocked again. Dudley jerked awake. Where's the cannon? He said stupidly. So what is Dudley dreaming about?
Where's the cannon?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what he's dreaming about. I just thought he was dumb.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
He just like, or for anyone if we're in our half sleep stupor. I don't know what he's dreaming about.
Have you ever had one of those dreams where like something, it matches up with reality? Like, I don't know, I can't use words tonight. I don't know an example.
What is he dreaming of? I didn't even think twice about that.
But like, if you're dreaming,
the most specific questions.
That was the first question. It's never happened to you where you're dreaming about something and then something in the real world happens, like a noise, and then you dream about that and that's what wakes you up.
Yeah.
Do you think his dream is really significant to the plot of the story?
Oh my gosh. Here
I'm
we
just
go.
kidding.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if you are kidding or not. No, I don't.
I'm gonna lead you astray on so many little
Yeah.
points. You're gonna be so lost by the end of this book.
No, I do not.
Really,
Final
this
answer.
this dream right here is the main crux of the whole
Yeah.
plot. If you don't decipher the dream, you're not gonna get the rest of the book.
You're psychotic. I didn't give it 2 thoughts.
Okay, if you're in a hut, and this guy Hagrid walks in, what was your first impression of Hagrid? Did you like him as a character?
I loved him.
Yeah?
Oh, I love him. I love the energy that he came in with. He came in. He knew why he was there. He didn't apologize or tiptoe around. And they describe his stature. So you can just picture him like just big footsteps, just walking through the room. He sits down, he sets a campfire, he asks for tea. Like, he just kind of commands the room and he knows it. But really, I like him because he's the first person who comes in and like advocates for Harry. Like, he's there for Harry. He explains why he's there. He starts talking to Harry and telling him things that he didn't know. So I love Hagrid. I think Hagrid is someone you want on your side.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He's just got that charm to him. Is there anything that you don't like about him so far?
Not really.
What's his Enneagram, Abbie?
I don't know yet. I'm not a good guesser. I have to think more about it.
Yeah.
I think he could maybe be a little bit dopey. Like maybe he's not the brightest, but he's like a super hard worker. He'll get the job done.
So how do you think
reliable.
How do you think that works with trustworthiness? Do you think he's trustworthy? Because if he's a bit dopey, would he be trustworthy?
Well, he might be gullible. I think he's trustworthy. Maybe he's gullible. I don't know if you're leading somewhere. Maybe he fumbles something.
Stop reading so into my questions.
I can't not. Some of them are very specific.
All right. How about this one? If you are in a hut and this massive giant breaks in and just starts cooking up a meal, what would you hope that he made for you?
Oh my God.
These are the important questions.
A sausage. I've actually decided I'm not going to answer these types of questions because I figured out you're going to try to put a spell on me. That's why you want to know all these things.
How would I?
Like, what kind of toast did I have for breakfast? How is it relevant?
So how is it relevant for me putting a spell on you?
I wouldn't know because I'm not a wizard, but you claim that you are. So.
I'm honored that you think I'm a wizard.
You've alluded to it before. I don't think that. I like that he makes sausages. I think the sausages sounded delicious when I was reading that.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's saying a lot because I'm not a big sausage.
It was a little gross when they woke up in the morning and they had like cold sausage that were like, I think they weren't in his pockets or something, but I remember they just woke up and they had like a little bit of cold sausage before their way.
Oh, the next day, I think.
Yeah, that's not the most appealing.
Yeah, that was gross.
But
yeah.
What did you think of, I know the answer to your question right here, but do you think that it was justified his assault on Dudley?
Absolutely.
Well, what has Dudley done?
He's a little shit. Like, he's such a little turd. He's a brat. And he got what's coming. And I have to remind myself, this is a kid's book, young adult kids, whatever. This isn't real life. If that were real life, I would say, hold on, you're an adult. That's a kid. But that's not the case here. This
but we have to treat it.
Little story.
Yeah. But you have to treat it still like a real story. Yeah. It was very poetic. You know, he's like a pig. He's eating the cake and he gets turned into a pig. It's like beautifully poetic. But in real life, that's not great. An adult attacking a kid like that, making him a pig.
No, but this isn't real life, so I can switch.
Humor me for a little bit. It is real life. This is how someone actually described it. I was talking to people on Reddit, our lovely Reddit channel, and someone described it this way, which I really like, that Harry Potter is like augmented reality. It's like different from fantasy because fantasy, again, it is fantasy.
Who agrees?
No. It is fantasy. Yeah. They all agree with me. People say is high fantasy or low fantasy, probably low fantasy, but it's not like one world to another. This is like augmented reality. Like if you put on these specs or put on these glasses, you'll be able to see the wizarding world around you. It's like the reality that exists on top of this. If
that's what you believe and if that's how you like sleep at night, then that's absolutely fine.
This is going to be the ongoing thing. I'm going to bring up this point every single podcast and just be like, if that's how you sleep at night, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, just that's what you like to say is like, it's not fantasy. It's another world superimposed on the real world. And like every time you say that, you're describing fantasy. Like, that's what the fantasy genre is.
Kind of. I guess you have a little point.
Well, actually, I have a question that got raised in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole point is his invitation comes from Hogwarts.
Yes.
And in this chapter or in other chapters, I feel like there's references to, it's the best school of wizardry, which would mean there's other schools of wizardry.
Yep.
Right? Why are you smirking?
Because in one of the first podcasts, in our introduction podcast, you were talking about you said, John, one day I just texted you about something and you said, hold on, I'm researching wizarding schools here. And you made fun of me so much for that little note. And look at you now. Look how this is flipped.
I'm not researching wizard schools.
Yeah, but you're talking about wizarding schools like they exist and you're like intrigued by it. That is a huge win for me.
Easy now. Easy now, pal. Easy. My question I'm getting to is, okay, so we now know there's other wizarding schools, but why are they not all trying to recruit Harry? Why didn't Harry get a bunch of like like when you go to college and you get like recruited? If he's the best wizard around and if he's the chosen one and everyone knows his name, why are other schools not coming after him?
That's really interesting.
What
are you trying to stop me on these questions? That is actually a fascinating question, to be completely honest. I don't necessarily have the answer for it. Usually people thought these were regional schools. That's not exactly the case where it's like all people from the UK go to Hogwarts. There are some other schools, not necessarily in the UK, but there are some other schools around the area that some students talk about going to. But none of the other schools are really mentioned that much. There's 2 other schools that are mentioned briefly in one of the books. But like this one's not mentioned at all in the novels, but she talks about this one in extra stuff that she writes. It's called Ilvermorny. It's the American School of Wizardry and Witchcraft.
And where is it?
It's in
Gotham City,
Massachusetts. It's close by. It's got a really cool history and like origin story to it. It's actually a lovely little story, but I actually don't know why they wouldn't send Harry a Hogwarts or their own letter to try to recruit him to go to their school. My only thing is maybe that the region has first picks for a student, like because he's in the UK. Maybe I'm not interested in the question anymore. This is I've lost interest. You're going so far down this rabbit hole. I lost interest. It was just more like a rhetorical question. It was a rhetorical, why hasn't he gotten other invitations, I guess. You can try to stump me as much as you want, but I'm going to come up with random theories about all this kind of stuff just to make fun.
I'm realizing what I'm up against here. Let me see. I'm trying to look at what all my questions are. I think some of them came up as I was reading other chapters. That was my question from this chapter.
I have 2 extra questions for you about Hagrid, actually. What do you think? Do you think that what is his job? What does he call himself as to Harry?
He's like the keeper of something. I think of him as like the groundskeeper.
Yeah. Groundskeeper
or whatever.
Gamekeeper, groundskeeper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that he's a good one? Because there's a moment where there's 2 things that happen in this chapter. He can't spell the name Voldemort, which is a little alarming that he can't spell. And he throws an owl out of a hut and it's storming outside like crazy. Do you think that those are okay? Like,
I didn't notice the owl thing. I don't think I even realized he couldn't spell. Yeah, I think those are fine. Not everyone can do everything. Yeah, I think who he is as a character is like hard worker. He'll get the job done. And he's just maybe not the brightest bulb.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have to know, like, I'm sure the leadership at Hogwarts knows who he is and what he's about, and they've put him in a role that they feel he can handle. That's how I view it.
Yeah, for sure. One that doesn't need spelling. That's the truth.
Well, yeah, actually, in the next chapter, he goes to the bank and he goes in that like super secure vault. So
Yeah.
they've given him clearance, which we'll get to shortly. So people high up like trust him. Yeah, I think he's qualified for the job he has.
He also has beautiful moments in this chapter with Harry. Like one of my favorite is when he says, "Last time I saw you, you was only a baby," said the giant. "You look a lot like your dad, but you've got your mom's eyes." I feel like for Harry in that moment, experiencing like, okay, someone actually knew my parents and they're going to talk about my parents. That's probably got to be huge for him. Like some kind of connection with his parents and his past. That was a lovely moment. I love that.
Yeah. This is a good chapter as a whole for Harry, all because of the way Hagrid interacts with him.
Yeah.
He's there for him, to invite him, to teach him who he is, to connect him to his parents. Like he's for Harry.
Yep. He also gives Harry the story of kind of what happened with his parents. And he talks about Voldemort wanting to kill Lily and James. And he did. He succeeded in that. Why do you think that Voldemort was after Lily and James, Potter? You don't have to laugh after every one of my questions.
I didn't think about that, but now I know where the lightning bolt on his forehead came from. And I guessed that, but then I was like, no, that's probably not it. But then that was it.
Yeah, don't second guess yourself.
Well, no, I didn't think it was likely because Harry's going through life with like a mark of someone trying to kill him, basically. You could also look at it in the reverse of like he's going through life with the mark of like someone who couldn't hurt him. Yeah. So my first thought when I said that last week was like, well, no, that would be sad if he was marked by Voldemort his whole life. But why did he kill Lily and James? Some battle. Well, Voldemort, we know from these chapters, was a fallen angel, so to speak. He's the Satan of the story.
Yep.
He was a Slytherin, wasn't he? And then he left, or he was something, and then he left.
I've never heard him be called a fallen angel before. This is exceptional.
He is, though.
Yeah, he kind of is.
He's the Satan of the story.
Yeah, 100%.
He was like at Hogwarts and left and like took a bunch of people to be like dark-sided with him. So I'm guessing Lily and James were just like trying to fight him and make him stop.
Okay. And then
killed them.
Yeah, they were like in his way. There's another thing that happens in this where Harry doesn't die even though Voldemort attacks him. And then Hagrid goes, something about you stumped him that night. Mm-hmm. Why couldn't Voldemort kill a baby? Why couldn't he kill Harry?
Maybe he had some spells already put on him from his parents.
Okay. Like what? Give me those spells, Abbie.
a spell of protection. Maybe they thought of new spells for the first time to see if they would work.
Okay.
Maybe they thought of spells to try and destroy Voldemort, but they couldn't do it. The spells went into their baby, and then one day he would destroy Voldemort.
Uh-huh. Interesting. I like this theory. I just love hearing you talk about this. This is like one of the highlights of my life right here. You talking about Harry Potter like it's actually good. Yeah, I know. Don't
push it.
You're like, I could drop this at any moment.
No. I'm just humoring you. I'm not really into the story. I'm just humoring you. Is the point. I'm just being nice.
I can't wait till you.
You know what I actually thought of? A couple weeks ago, I was with like some friends, and so they're my age, and they have a 17-month-old little boy, like a toddler. He can't talk yet, but we were fast friends, and he grabbed my hand, this little boy, and we're walking around this park, and he's walking around. He's like pointing up at stuff, but he can't talk. So I was like, oh, wow. Oh, yeah, look at that. And then he'll point at something. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, wow. And that's actually how I feel about this experience where you're the little boy.
Wait, I'm the little boy.
Yeah, you're leading me around and I'm like, you're showing me the Potter world and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, wow. Oh, there's goblins that guard the bank. Wow. Okay. They ride broomsticks and play Quidditch. Okay, cool. Yeah.
You were literally
a little kid.
You were literally on that walk with a little kid holding his hand, being like, "This is pretty much John right now with Harry Potter."
No, I thought of that later, but I was like, that feels like similar experience.
That's actually that's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
this is gonna be great. Okay, do you have any other ideas or questions or things that you want to talk about in chapter 4 before we go into chapter 5?
Well, yes. Why, just in general, why can't they say Voldemort's name?
Yeah. Why do you think? Let me turn that question back on you.
They're scared of it, I guess. It seems like if they say it, he'll just appear. That's my guess.
It's more so, it's more so the first one. It's more so fear right now. Like if they say it, they're just afraid of it. There's not an apt comparison in the real world for this, I guess.
Or they'll call upon dark powers.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I think the name just had so much taboo and so much like vileness to it. I guess maybe in a not perfect comparison, it's like no one in Germany names their child Adolf. Like I think it's illegal to try to name your child Adolf. Like the fear that that name stirs up, they like don't use that name anymore.
So evil, yeah.
So I would say it's probably something akin to that. Like everyone is just afraid of him, so they don't even want to use the name. I think another somewhat similar thing is like when Jews don't use the name like Yahweh. Maybe that's like a whole different thing.
I think that's totally different.
That's like a good it's like a good holy fear rather than like an evil fear. But I think there's some kind of comparison there with the idea of like someone fearing a name.
Yeah.
But that's really, they just are afraid of it, so they just don't want to use it.
Okay.
You satisfied?
Yes, I'm satisfied for now.
You want to go into chapter 5, Diagon Alley.
Okay, does Diagon Alley it's like a play on diagonally?
Yeah. Well done.
I realized that. I was like, why? What is this name? And then I was like, oh, diagonally.
Yep.
And is that the whole like wizard?
No.
Z? Is that what it's about though?
Diagonal? No, it's just
diagonally. It's like the mark on his forehead.
No, the mark on his forehead is like a lightning bolt symbol, and you don't know if it's like...
Well, it's several diagonals put together.
You're reading too far into this right now.
I don't think I am, though. You want to get weird? Let's get weird.
No, I think so. Have you been introduced to the other place in Diagon Alley yet? There's like another alleyway. I don't know if Hagrid mentions it yet here. I don't think he does, but this isn't really like an important thing. There's another one that there's like another parallel alley called Nocturne Alley, and it's like nocturnally.
No, I don't know about that yet.
Yeah, it's like nocturnally. So they like, it's a play on words, and all that it is a play on words. It's not because Harry has a diagonally shaped lightning bolt across his forehead.
Is it, or did you miss something? Is there something you've missed in all your years of study?
You're going to be goading me about these stupid little points for...
Time will tell. Time will tell.
You just think you're so 5. Smart and so clever with
Not
these.
Not really. No,
I was just messing. All right, what happens in chapter 5?
Chapter 5, they leave the cabin, take a little boat back to town, wherever. And then they're just walking around town. And all of a sudden, between two buildings, they see like a speakeasy type thing, or a pub or whatever. And then they go in there. And I don't know if they go underground or something in it, but it's basically just a place full of wizards. and they all know who Harry Potter is, and they're like looking at him and talking. I think they're talking to him. I don't remember.
Yeah.
You know who he is. They're coming up and shaking his hand. I think they cheer him, actually. I liked that moment.
Yeah.
Because that's also the first time Harry's had that, like, people like admiring him, basically, knowing who he is and stuff. Like a room full of people.
Well, he's had that before in his life, but he's never really known it. Other people have come up to him at random points in his life and like said, or like shaken his hand or, you know, done something, but he just hasn't noticed why. Now he's like, oh, I'm a famous witch or wizard.
Well, and they're all together too.
I know.
It's like,
so it's got to be
like a group.
Yeah.
Like cheering for him. Yeah. I don't remember how they get there. If they go then down further, like down to an alley or something, but then they look at the trash can and then 3 bricks up and over, you have to tap it.
Look at
and then
you.
They go in this portal into Diagon Alley.
What do they do in Diagonally?
That's where they get all his school supplies. So they go to the Cape store.
The Cape store.
Right?
Yeah.
Cloak, whatever you call it.
Cloak, yeah.
He meets a boy there. We don't know his name yet.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, I don't remember the order, but then they go to where do they go next? The cauldron place or something?
Yeah, he gets a few supplies there. They go get the wand. Hagrid go get some animal.
Get the wand. I really like the wand guy too because he's like super into his job.
Yeah, that's me.
It seems like he is, and he gets like all these wands out, but then he says like the wand picks the
wand
the wizard over.
Yep, the wand chooses the wizard.
And then, so they go to different shops, and then I don't remember the order, but then they also go to the bank.
Mm-hmm. Gringotts, yeah. It's the first place they go.
Gringotts, yeah.
That's where the goblins are.
Yes. The goblins and the dragons. So they go down to Harry's vault and get his money.
Mm-hmm.
But then they go to another vault that's very top secret, very high clearance. And Hagrid gets something out in a brown paper bag.
Yeah, in a brown paper bag. And you give a mysterious look into the camera. Yeah, that was a great description. You are phenomenal at these.
So that's that.
Perfect. So one of the first things they do is they leave off the island on a boat. Did Hagrid come on a boat? Or are they taking the boat that the Dursleys use? And how did the Dursleys get off the island then if they took the boat off
I know.
the island?
I like that we don't know because it's like once they leave that house, you leave it
behind.
About the Dursleys later. Yeah, but there's like no talk of it. So it's like he's come and rescued Harry and like we don't know, but like the Dursleys will just find their way back.
It is kind of
I
like...
didn't think about it because it's not mentioned.
Yeah, it's like out of sight, out of mind. It is lovely.
Yeah.
That's not what Harry's thinking about. No one really cares about that at all.
But they do take the boat back and Hagrid says something like he can't use magic with him, but he wishes he could like put his umbrella in the water and speed up the boat.
Yep. He's not allowed to use magic. Why do you think Hagrid's not allowed to use magic?
Well, he mentions that he lost his privileges, so...
Yeah, why do you think he lost his privileges?
I don't know. He was probably doing spells above his clearance.
You think this is like the CIA? They all have clearance levels and they can't do a spell above a certain... Do you
probably,
think,
yeah.
Do you think that there are certain spells that no one can do, that they're illegal?
That no one can do, or like maybe a few of the highest wizards can do,
or not that like no one can do, like skill wise, just that are illegal.
Yeah, no. Well, no.
You don't think any curse is illegal?
Well, I think there's just some that are probably very high clearance.
that are very frowned down upon.
Only they're too powerful, so only people like Dumbledore can do them.
Okay. You're gonna try to like glare into me to get answers, but that ain't happening.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a reaction.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm not gonna give you any reactions. So Harry's book list is this, and I just want to know which book to you sounds the most interesting. This is what his book list is: the Standard Book of Spells, A History of Magic, Magical Theory, Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration, 1,000 Magical Herbs and Fungi, Magical Drafts and Potions, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, or The Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection. What is the most interesting book to you?
The least interesting would be the theory one.
Really?
Theory doesn't track in my brain.
Yeah.
The history one would be a little bit interesting. An overview of the history of it.
Wait, theory doesn't track in your brain? Is that like a Enneagram 9
like
thing?
So abstract. No, I don't know about that.
Because I can't do abstractions. I hate abstractions. That's why I don't really like theory for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's just like it's not tangible to me. But that book list, the only thing that was interesting on there was the last one. What's it called again?
Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection.
Yeah, well, it's interesting in the sense that like they're admitting that if you engage in witchcraft, you're inherently engaging with bad spirits or forces or whatever you want to call it. Like this isn't some happy little wizard world where you go and do magic and poof, things appear. Like you are inherently also engaging with dark forces. So they're teaching them to like how to be protected.
Yeah.
So it's a little dangerous.
But I feel like that's the same. It's like if you go to a school and they're teaching you like, self-defense, it's like you could walk out onto the streets of whatever city that you live in, and there could be dark forces there that could try to beat you up. And you have to defend yourself against those.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more of an observation. Like in this world that this author is creating, it's not just happy little wizardry.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's light and there's dark.
Yeah, absolutely. And
but also with that, I could get down with like, so we all hate the Dursleys.
Yeah.
And they're just awful, of course. But we also hate in the story how they've hidden Harry's wizardness from him.
Mm-hmm.
But a world could exist to me where two loving and kind adoptive parents hid his wizardness from him because they saw how it wrecked his parents.
Yeah.
And they didn't want him to go down the same path.
Oh, so that was one question I was asking you actually before a while ago is you laughed at me for this one. Can a wizard hide or not be a wizard if they choose to?
You said, could they lose their magic?
Yeah.
I don't know about other people. I don't think that Harry can because of something about how he's been born, because he was a baby when like the lightning ball happened.
He was like marked by it.
Other people I don't know. Yeah, other people I don't know.
So do you actually think that would maybe not better off because we didn't really don't know Harry at this point. What's up, Wes? But do you think that he would have been better off had he just integrated into the Muggle world? Not with the Dursleys, maybe, but with a kind and loving family.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we'll never really know because that's not the story. But
so, do you view the wizarding world as more dangerous right now than the non-wizarding world?
Yes. Because you're engaging with things that you don't need to.
How are you not doing that in real life right now?
I'm not saying like dark spells and like calling things upon me and
yeah, I guess for this one it's like there's when Harry enters into this world, there's an understanding that there are kind of dark forces in this world and that you do have to defend yourself against those.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is probably because Voldemort, everyone's afraid to say his name. He was like the greatest dark wizard to ever exist. And there's probably a lot of fear in that. But if
it wasn't Voldemort, it would be someone else.
Maybe that's like a line that I'm gonna nerd out and geek out about you this again. This is like a line they use in in the Avengers and Marvel when they're like, because of their mere existence, it like threatens a challenge. It like beckons someone to challenge their power. And I think the same is maybe true of wizardry. Like their power is going to be different from the Muggle world, but because they exist, there's going to be threats to that seem greater than the threats that are in our world. So that's a really interesting observation. That was astute of you.
Well, one of my other questions while we're on the topic is why can't the Muggles and the wizards just coexist? When you hear a wizard talk about, oh, my aunt is a Muggle, but we don't talk to her.
Yeah.
Like when you hear them reference each other, it's always like they're talking down about that person. Why can't they just coexist?
Yeah, they've been trying to. This is the whole you'll figure this out.
They've been trying to.
Yeah. Dude, we've been trying to for years.
For centuries. For decades.
So this is I feel like this is one of the biggest reasons for the wizarding world existing. So we're not going to get into all this kind of stuff. We'll get into it as we go on, but there's, Hagrid mentions that there's a ministry of magic and Harry's like, oh, there's a whole ministry of magic. The ministry of magic's almost sole purpose is to hide itself from the Muggle world. They have different offices and they're figuring out how they can hide themselves from the Muggle world because there was lots of persecution that happened with them. And so what their decision was, they retreated from that. Now, obviously there's different sentiment now. There's millions of wizards and witches all over the world, and they all have different opinions about how they should integrate with society. There's all sorts of different takes on that too, but
Millions. Wow.
Yeah, people are trying, like wizards and witches are trying to integrate into Muggle society, but Muggles haven't necessarily all outright accepted them. Ergo, the Salem witch trials. So when there's something different that kind of pops into the world that you're in, like think about, this maybe isn't an appropriate comparison.
About real life? Are you talking about real life for this?
No,
series?
in the series.
The Salem witch trials is in the series?
Yeah, like she took everything that was, no, it's not really in the series, but it's like there's a brief mention of it. And then she's written extra things about it. Like that was like a time of like witch persecution, but nothing that anybody did in the Salem witch trials did anything to witches and wizards because they could burn them, but they could just like use a spell that, made the fire not burn them. But there's all sorts of like witches and wizard examples that she used that happen that Muggles like us know that she like used in these books. So it's actually a really fascinating question of what.
How are you referring to yourself as a Muggle? I thought you referred to yourself as a wizard.
Because I have to live under the statutes of secrecy for.
Oh my gosh. Really what I'm realizing as I read this too is how delusional you are. Like I think it goes way deeper than I thought.
Yeah, you're going to see how deep it goes pretty soon. Yeah. So as we go through these books, you're going to be like, you're going to slowly fall in love with them, but you're going to be like, John is off the deep end with some of this stuff.
Well, when I was like, you read about the school and they're learning, well, I guess they haven't learned any spells yet in what we've read.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I was thinking of the Wingardium Leviosa.
Yeah.
And it did bring up a question for me. And please answer honestly.
Okay.
Have you ever tried to make something levitate?
Yeah. Don't tell me you haven't.
No.
When you're a kid and you're sitting in like a class or something like that, I still remember this. Yeah. Okay. Don't jump down my throat when you're a kid. I haven't done it when I'm an adult. But as a kid, when you're sitting in class, you're like,
I don't believe
you're looking at an object. I'm looking at my water right now and I'm going, I still remember there was this one kid that I was sitting next to him in 4th grade class. It was one of our friends. And all of a sudden we look over and he's going like this. Like pointing at something with all of his fingers and like pointing at his head and trying to make something levitate. And we all looked at him and then he like saw us looking at him and he was so embarrassed. But he was one of our good friends. So we all just made fun of him and it was hilarious.
That's my question. I actually feel certain you've done that as an adult.
Maybe. No, I haven't done it as an adult.
I'm surprised by that.
I'm
actually very surprised by that.
sometimes when I have my wands out there, I pretend to I run around my apartment and say Wingardium Leviosa and try to
You
levitate
have
everything.
wands?
Of course I have wands.
How many wands do you have? Plural.
I have 4.
Where did you get a wand?
I got him. I actually never had them. And then Danny, he got some wands when he was starting to read this because he started to really enjoy it. And he's like, they're so cheap. So I'm going to just get some. And I was like, let me just go nab some wands. They're kind of cool. They're actually beautiful. They're really cool.
Where are they? Get them out.
They're in my room over there. I'll show you next time.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you have how many wands?
I have 4. I also have, and this is even nerdier, a full replica of
Hogwarts.
the sword that Aragorn uses in Lord of the Rings. And
yeah, that's nerdy. Is it above your bed?
No, it's
Do
deep.
you kneel to it every night when you go to bed?
It's deep in my closet. I don't display it anywhere because
I'm sure
like
it's not deep
a closeted
in your closet.
nerd.
I'm sure it's hanging over your bed. You're not a closeted nerd. You host multiple Potter podcasts. There's nothing closeted about that. You're an out and proud nerd.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm not going to display it on my walls. I'm not going to put my wands on my walls. I like good artwork. Like give me Oliver Jeffers art or something like that. I'll put that on my walls and I'll nerd out about that because I nerd about Oliver Jeffers all the time.
I'm actually not quite done with the wands yet. Have you tried to use the wands?
Yeah, when you get them, they're like, it's hard not to. You get them and they feel like they should work.
A real wand.
Yeah.
So what kind of spells did you try?
It's like you just try to, you pretend like you feel like a kid again. You can make fun of me all you want. And this is another thing about this series that I'm going to go on about. It gives you a childlike feeling again. Like when you're reading it, do you not feel like a child again?
No.
You don't?
Not yet.
Okay, no. Maybe you won't, but when I read the series, it makes me feel like, I don't have to worry about all the sorts of other stuff. It's just like you get lost in a story and you're a kid in this wizarding world. You're like participating with Harry. Huh. And so
maybe it's because you read it when you were a kid.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Wait, do that as a poll. Didn't we take a poll last time?
Yeah. When
I want to do a poll each time. I want to hear from.
All right. You want to hear from your rave reviewers.
When you read Harry Potter, do you feel like a child? Well, our last poll, I was going to ask what happened to the last poll where I said.
Yeah, I threw it actually up on Reddit and most people were talking about how their nerd communities, everyone had almost the same stuff. No one had Animal Crossing, so I'm sorry. Everyone made fun of you for Animal Crossing. I'll show you the subreddit, and everyone was making fun of you for no one was making fun of you for Animal Crossing. But
come on, guys.
Everyone has the crossover.
There's Animal Crossing.
Most people said Lord of the Rings was like the biggest crossover that they had, and then there was all sorts of other ones. Like Star Wars was a big one that people nerded out about. And I'm nerding out about Star Wars. It's been great for the last few, like some of the series that they made have been terrible, but some of the stuff like Andor, they made a phenomenal series out of Andor. And then the most recent one, Ahsoka, is great. So Star Wars people nerd out about, Marvel people nerd out about. There's another
Marvel. I didn't think about Marvel.
Like Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire. People are going crazy over that.
So what did people say on the poll?
It was unanimous that people liked Harry Potter the most, obviously, because people are watching a podcast about Harry Potter. But on the subreddit, it was like a mix of everything. It was like most people like Harry Potter the most, but a few other people said like, Lord of the Rings or Star Wars is their prominent nerddom, I think. Because most of the people who have read this have probably read it when they were younger, even if they don't read it when they were younger. Like, I think that's not contingent on whether you think the series, it brings you back to like childhood wonder. I did read the series when I was a kid, but I read it actually mostly in high school when I like wasn't a nerd. I was like a jock and I didn't care. I didn't want to read. I was just like nothing. And then this kind of was like the initial factor into me becoming a nerd later on in life. So when I read it now, I'm not like brought back to my high school life really at all. I'm brought back to like this is a story that transports me and makes me feel like a kid again, that I can use magic, and that like, my Hogwarts letter might come in the mail one day. And they just said, oh, sorry, we're late with your Hogwarts letter. We're 21 years late with your Hogwarts letter. You want to come?
2 decades. Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe it's not my cup of tea. So maybe that's why it doesn't give me childlike wonder.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, there's some weird, like, what do you think about the grip hook guy? Because this is what he has. This is a line that he has. He's a goblin. And he says, if anyone but a Gringotts goblin tried that, they'd be sucked through the door and trapped in there, said Griphook. How often do you check to see if anyone's inside, Harry asked. About once every 10 years,
10
said Griphook,
years.
with a nasty grin.
Yeah.
What do you think of the world that she's building? I know you're kind of making fun of it a little bit, like it's kind of silly that these things exist.
No, I actually think it's amazing. I am impressed with like the mind of the author as I'm reading this. Like it is such an elaborate world. It's so elaborate. It's so vivid. Yeah, I'm actually very impressed with like the way it's written.
Yeah.
The creativity of everything.
It is pretty crazy too, because she doesn't, to be honest, most people think that the books 1 and 2, she builds a cool world, but like books 3 is really where she takes off the world, and it gets so much more expansive after that. So it's a good world. It's a fun little world. So if you're going to a wand shop and you got to pick between unicorn hair, dragon heartstring, or phoenix feather.
Dragon
heartstring?
Dragon. Yeah, but what is a phoenix? That's another one of my questions.
What do you think a phoenix is? I'm going to turn all your questions back on you. You've never like heard of the mythological creature of a phoenix?
No, should I just Google it?
It's like a firebird.
Of course it's a firebird.
So
why wouldn't it be a firebird? I don't know what that is.
A phoenix is a bird that when it dies, it bursts into flame, and then the new phoenix is born from its ashes. That's why you say you're rising like a phoenix.
Oh, I've heard of that expression.
Yeah.
Oh, an immortal bird that cyclically regenerates or is otherwise born again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's part of Greek mythology. Well, regardless, dragon.
Yeah, dragon hearts. I'm probably the same. Dragon heartstring would be pretty sweet. Do you think we're going to see dragons in this story?
It would be this order: dragon, phoenix, goblin.
It's goblin. No. You don't use goblin. Unicorn hair.
Oh, unicorn. Sorry. To me, they're the same. They're equally.
Goblins and unicorns are the same in your head.
I forgot. No, in the level of like how little I care about them,
for sure.
They're the same. Yeah. What was your question?
I don't remember.
We're going to see a dragon in the story?
Oh, yeah. We're going to see a dragon in the story.
Well, yeah, if you don't remember the question, then I doubt it. But there's dragons guarding the bank.
Oh, I love how much you're psychoanalyzing all of my my questions.
Yeah, I'm on high alert
I know. What do you think of Harry's interaction with this other student who we later learn is Draco Malfoy?
Yeah. He seems a little stuck up when they're talking in the shop. The boy, I mean, not Harry, seems a little stuck up. I don't know if Harry seems like Harry just seems friendly, but maybe a little bit standoffish, which I think is a good thing because I don't get good vibes from him.
Yeah.
So I think Harry is friendly, but doesn't really know what to think yet.
I like how Harry's friendly, but then he also is really blunt about things. Like there's a line where Draco goes, "Where are your parents?" And Harry just goes, "They're dead."
Yeah.
Like I'm sure he said it in a different way, but like they're dead, jerk.
Yeah.
I think that Harry, I actually kind of like that he's standoffish there. I think it's like admirable of him. He kind of recognizes character and who people are pretty early on. What do you think it means that the wand chooses the wizard?
I guess what they'll be good at, or what kind of wizardry they will lean towards, or like what will come naturally to them. The wand just knows. Like it said that his mom did like charms or something with her wand. So maybe there's certain types of wizardry individual wizards gravitate towards. And so the specific wand will match with that person based on just the way that they're gifted.
You're giving great answers here. Even though you're making fun of me a ton with this, you're still giving good answers, which I just respect you for. You're still like, this is really a nerdy series. Oh, all right. You're actually getting into this. This is great. Any other points in this chapter? Any other questions? So. This is a lovely chapter, though. Just like Harry's transition into the wizarding world and like the world before him. Diagon Alley just seems like a really fascinating place.
Sorry, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Why is this when they go to Ollivander's?
Yes.
Wait, Ollivander's is the wand guy.
Yeah.
Okay, it says at the end of that chapter he doesn't like him very much.
He doesn't like Ollivander very much.
Yeah.
Can you read that to me?
Oh, you don't know it by heart? It says something like he wasn't sure he liked him too much. I don't know that I marked it, but I made a question of it, so I'm sure I read it. Let me see if I can find it.
I'm going to Google it. I think you're kind of right.
Oh, here it is. I found it. Page 85.
Turn in your books to page 85.
Page 85. It's on the right-hand side, like when they're kind of finishing up getting the wands, picking his wand. 13.5 inches. Curious indeed how these things happen. The wizard and the wand, whatever. Harry shivered. He wasn't sure he liked Mr. Ollivander too much. He paid 7 gold galleons for his wand, and Mr. Ollivander bowed them from his shop.
Yeah.
So it says it right there.
That's really interesting.
He wasn't sure he liked Mr. Ollivander too much.
Do you think that that's an indication of...
Well, based on your reaction, I don't think it means anything because you weren't even aware of it.
So here's something that I'm just going to throw out for you for some things that you're going to mention certain lines that like catch you off guard, and they have such monumental importance that I'm going to bypass them like they're nothing.
You are so psychotic.
Like, okay, so here's a question that I want to ask you that I actually want to tag on a story.
Wait.
You do not understand the level with which I am good at hiding things, and I can like pull you off your rocker.
That's scary. So are you trying to say that your reaction to that may or may not have been fake?
A flat out lie.
When you said, that's interesting.
It might just be a flat out lie.
Or it might not be.
Yeah, it might not be. You don't know. You're never going to know.
You're just trying to mess with my head. You're trying to gaslight me.
Yeah, 100%. This podcast is just a gaslighting podcast.
Yeah. You invite your friends on to read Harry Potter and you gaslight them the whole time.
Well, it
doesn't say that.
This is part of what I do. So,
not what the book is about.
Yeah, for when people have predictions for these, like I'm never going to confirm anything, but if they're on the right track for something that's like really interesting, I might keep them going with that. But if they guess something, or if some like this crushed me the other day. So I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'm going to tell you the story behind what happened with it. But there's a single word that if you're a Harry Potter like fan, if you like Harry Potter, you say that word around other people and they just immediately know like you're a Harry Potter fan. And it's in the text in the very end. It's like spattered throughout the whole text, but there's like just a word. It might be Muggle, but I have people guess sometimes what that word is. Like maybe your guess is Muggle. It might be Muggle. But the other day I was asking that question to the original crew, and someone had spoiled it for Jen. And I was crushed. So I lied about the whole thing. And I don't think I led them astray that much in it. But I was like, yeah, I don't really know where that word is coming from. Like, I think that's a little nuts. I think it's like wrong. But
scary.
You're
scary.
Yeah, I know. I've like dropped certain hints about some stuff in there. So Ollivander might have significant importance later on in these books, but you'll never know from me.
Okay.
Do you think that Harry is such a good judge of character that he really truly does know that there's something iffy with Ollivander? Because he seemed to guess Draco was an issue quickly. Do you think that's true
Well-
of Ollivander and Hagrid? Because he loves Hagrid at the end. It says even though everything Hagrid had told him so far was unbelievable, Harry couldn't help but trust him.
I don't know that I'm psychoanalyzing the characters as much as like, what is the author trying to put down? Is this just a little bit of foreshadowing?
Okay.
I don't think it's in there for nothing.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
fact that he wasn't sure if he liked him. I think that's going to come back later. I don't know if in a big way or not.
Okay. You don't just think it's an indication of a person's character. Because it is a weird line that they throw into that. Like, why would JK throw that line
he
in?
might have a bad character, but I don't know if
he's got a bad feeling about a character, just after he had like an interaction with another character who was bad, you're kind of like, okay, this might be an indication of something.
Yeah, but I don't know what kind of role it could be, a big thing or not. Like Ollivander, I don't know what kind of role he's going to play later.
Interesting. Do you, out of everything that Harry did that day with like going to get, potion ingredients, going to get his fit checked, going to get a wand, going like Hagrid got him an animal, going to the bookstore. I know, I just said it because you make fun of me sometimes for saying that.
Even Harry Potter didn't live in a world where they say fit check.
Which would you want to do most if you were at Diagon Alley?
Oh, we didn't talk about the animals yet. They go and get their animal.
Yeah,
they go and get
awesome.
he go gets his owl. That's what I would like to do.
Yeah.
And does he get a broomstick?
No, he doesn't get a broomstick.
They mention it because there's like little boys.
Yep.
But there's
they're looking at the Nimbus like, 2000.
First years can't I like when they get the animals, and I would like that, and I would also be getting an owl.
Would that be like the animal? You wouldn't get anything else because they
They have to pick an animal.
Yeah, between a cat, a toad, an owl,
and a rat. I would get an owl or a cat.
I would for sure get an owl.
Yeah, owls are cool.
I know. I feel like toads would be the worst. Rats would be pretty awful too, but toads would just be awful.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if I would want to get a rat. Living near New York City, it's like rats.
I don't want a rat.
Yeah, rats are pretty gross.
They're disease ridden. Even in Hogwarts, I bet they're riddled with diseases.
The bubonic plague goes through. That's what all these books are about.
Yeah.
So the bubonic plague moves through Hogwarts because they let rats run through the castle.
Harry Potter and the bubonic plague. That's the
next book. Let's go to chapter 6, the journey from platform 9 3/4.
How much fan fiction exists?
You would not believe the amount of fan fiction that exists for these books.
We don't need to go down that trail.
There is a lot.
Chapter 6.
Chapter 6, the journey from platform 9 3/4. Give me a quick summary of this one.
Chapter 6, he goes down and asks his uncle for a ride to the train station. He gets to the train station. That family leaves and he's like scared and confused, which is a little bit sad for a moment. But then Harry's waiting and the Weasleys walk by. So he sees people with carts of stuff and he overhears the mother, I think, say Muggle. So he knows that it's like a fellow wizard.
Mm-hmm.
So he follows them or asks them. I can't remember. And she teaches him how to get on the platform.
Yeah.
And he can't find it, but she says, run towards the barrier. And if you're scared, just run. And then you'll just make your way there and you'll be on there.
Yeah.
So actually, I want to pause there.
Okay.
Because I actually like that part too.
You liked it?
When she's describing that and when he's getting on the platform, like he can't see it. So it's totally unknown to him and he's freaked out and he's scared. But she's like, walk towards it. And if you're not sure, run towards it. And I genuinely think that is a great thing. That's a great picture to teach not just kids, but like adults.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we're scared of things in life and like you have to do it anyway, do it afraid. And like there's so many things in life that like you're gonna be afraid while you're doing it, but like do it anyway. So I really like that.
That's fantastic. That makes me so happy.
Well, you asked, what is she teaching in this book? And I couldn't tell you other than how to be a great wizard. But I do like that little picture that she puts in there. Okay, so they get on.
Man, that's fantastic. I think that's fantastic. That's like one of my favorite things about kids' stories is like the embedded messages in them and how well kids authors in particular are the best at that. Like putting meaning into stories like that's just subtle and perfectly done.
Don't you think that's true to life though? Think of like, when you're a
100%.
kid,
yeah.
You think like, or even as an adult, oh, I'm afraid I can't do that. But it's like, no, actual like growth happens.
Yeah.
When you do something and you're afraid.
Yep.
Anyway. Like
and it's on the most basic stuff. Like it's on the most basic stuff of like a diving board when you're a kid, but it's also on like the serious stuff. Just run into it. That's fantastic,
stuff,
man.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So they get on the train, or they all get on the platform. Ron and all of his brothers. He meets his first friend, Ron. And then I guess the train takes off and they're on their way to Hogwarts. So him and Ron sit together and they just start chatting, just hitting it off right away. His little friend, his peer, they're talking about, I guess it was in that chapter or the next one, they're just chatting back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron is like, oh, I couldn't get an owl. I got my brother's rat instead. Or he like stops himself because he was embarrassed. And Harry was like, Harry identifies with that. And he's like, no, I didn't have any money till like a week ago or yesterday or a month ago, whatever. So it's just a nice little friendship forming there. And then Hermione comes in. So they meet Hermione.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes from a Muggle family, right?
Yeah.
And she has studied all of her books. I feel a little brown noser situation coming. I think she's a little overeager.
She's a little insane.
She's coming on very strong.
Yep.
So they meet Hermione, and then I forget exactly how it ends, but I think they are at Hogwarts.
Yeah, they
go into Hogwarts.
No, I think they end right before they're about to go into Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun little chapter too. Like when I read these books, the train chapters are some of my favorite because it's like you're leaving. Okay, let's get into fantasy. You're leaving the real world and going into the fake world. It's like it's a fun little chapters. Like the transportation between the two worlds is kind of fun. But this is a fun little fact. So they get Hedwig, and Hedwig wasn't named after this, but there's a saint. There's the patron saint of orphans is the name Saint Hedwig of Antidex or something like that. And she's the patron saint of orphans. So Harry's name for the owl is pretty interesting. Yeah. His owl is Hedwig.
Oh.
It's a fun little fact.
Right. I like his little owl.
Who is so in this chapter, Hagrid, he's a bit of an idiot in this chapter as well, because he kind of just leaves Harry on the platform without giving him any guidance for how to get onto platform 9 3/4. But you love, and you even mentioned this before, you love Mrs. Weasley.
Mm-hmm.
Who's been your favorite character so far in the story?
In the story, the cat from the beginning.
Still, come on.
Yeah. The cat sitting there reading a map. Chapter 1. That's my favorite so far.
What do you like about Mrs. Weasley though?
Well, she's very kind.
Yeah.
She's a mother figure. She's like, wrangling her kids along. There's a little girl, like she's just got all her kids there and she's just trying to get them off. I think she gave one of them like food, like sandwiches. She's just trying to keep them in line.
Yeah.
She's she's just a mom.
Yeah,
she's a
it's lovely. Someone was talking about, or someone wants me to ask you on chat, what do you think of Turdley getting his tail surgically removed?
Turdley. I mean, I guess it has to be done. I wondered how big it was. Could he just hide it in his pants? Or how does magic work where like can he get it removed? Or is it a spell and it's on there permanently? We just know they're going to the hospital to try to get it removed, but did they actually get it removed? Well, maybe it comes back later. Maybe Dudley comes back later, but and I hope he doesn't get it removed, if I'm honest.
He's just gonna have that for the rest of his life. It's gonna be his cross to bear. He's gonna
I don't know. Actually, I take that back.
Yeah, that's a little sadistic. That's a little evil of you.
This is where it's like it's a kid's story.
Yeah, I know.
This is a make believe land. I wouldn't wish that upon a human, but this little character in a book. Yeah, keep your little pigtail, your little puddin', little puddin'.
Yeah, that was such a great line too. I love that one so much.
Your great puddin' of a son.
What's your first impression of Ron and the rest of the Weasleys?
I really like Ron. I think he seems down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is because he talks about, well, he's like the youngest of the boys.
Yep.
Or he's the newest. He's the first year, so he's the youngest. Yeah. I don't know. He seems nice. He seems kind. He seems, down to earth. They share with each other. He shares his sandwiches, and Harry shares a bunch of like pastries or weird candy or whatever they brought. I thought they had a nice little friendship moment on the train.
Yeah, it's fun to see Harry's growth and like actually making a friend. Because he meets Draco and he's like, it's not a guy I want to mess around with or be friends with.
Yeah.
And then he meets Ron and they just hit it off instantaneously. And you're like, this is a good guy. Comes from good family, like these hardy peasants. They don't have a ton of money, but they're, they're good. They're kind.
Nice round mother.
That's always a good indication of the trustworthiness of a family.
Hopefully, I imagine her as very loving and kind and just trying to keep her head straight because she's got so many kids.
I know. Even like the twins, his brothers are great too. Because Ginny, who is the youngest Weasley who's not able to go to school, she's like crying, and it says they lean out of the window for her to kiss them goodbye, and their younger sister began to cry. Don't, Ginny, we'll send you loads of owls. We'll send you a Hogwarts toilet seat. George! Only joking, Mom. And they both get on the train and they leave. Like, they're good siblings to each other, which I love that so much. It shows how tight-knit that family is. Even though they might like bust on each other and rag on each other and fight. Yeah. They're still in it together. They're a good family. Yeah.
They love each other. Yeah. It's relatable if you have siblings. Yeah.
I know, for sure. These are the sweets that they eat. They eat Bertie Bott's every flavored beans, Drubel's chewing gum, chocolate frogs, pumpkin pasties, cauldron cakes, and licorice wands. Which one do you want most?
I knew that question was coming. I knew in my heart that question was coming. Whatever a pumpkin pasty, it sounds like pastry. I assume it's some sort of croissant or something like that. I love that.
It's like an apple turnover, but pumpkin.
Or I would like that. Or a licorice.
Yeah, you like licorice.
Good.
Okay. Oh, have you go to Trader Joe's? They have these little licorice. They're like licorice wands. They're actually delicious. They have strawberry flavored ones, and they're incredible.
Wand?
Huh?
You said wand?
Licorice wands. That's what's in Harry Potter. But Trader Joe's has like little licorice sticks, like little nubs.
Okay, you said wand.
Yeah, because I'm making the comparison.
Okay, well, I thought Trader Joe's had a product they called a licorice wand.
No. They probably took the inspiration from Harry Potter. But it's just delicious licorice. So next time you're there, go grab some. This podcast is sponsored by Trader Joe's.
This podcast is sponsored by all things Harry Potter.
Yep, darn right. I also love Harry's interaction with Ron, that he's like actually kind and nice to Ron back. Like with Draco, he was cold and standoffish. And then all of a sudden this warm, loving family comes in. And even Harry, he goes, go on, have a pasty, said Harry, who had never had anything to share before, or indeed anyone to share it with. It was a nice feeling sitting there with Ron, eating their way through all Harry's pasties and cakes. The sandwiches lay forgotten. I love that. It's such like a good kid thing. When you're like on a class trip, you're with a friend, you're just eating junk food.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. What are your first impressions of Hermione Granger, though?
She's a little much. My first thought was we have a little brown noser situation here because she's like memorized all her books, but it talks about how she comes from a Muggle family. So I think she's actually working harder to try to overcompensate from maybe some insecurities she has.
Ooh.
So I can let her off the hook a little bit, but my first thought was brown noser.
Do you think that a lot of people in Hogwarts are coming from Muggle families?
I don't know. 50-50.
Yeah.
Or minority. 50. I'll go 50-50.
But Hermione definitely has like a chip on her shoulder. She definitely wants to impress everyone. So she's going to be a little brown. She's
striving.
Yeah.
She's a little real hard.
She's a little much. She's a little intense right now. A little annoying.
Yeah. She's not someone I would immediately want to be friends with.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Personally.
Then there's this final moment in the chapters where Draco comes and he, I guess, kind of tries to intimidate Harry and Ron a little bit, or he like offers them friendship, and then when that doesn't work, they kind of just like, you know,
he gets real ugly with him.
I know, he gets real nasty and snippy. But then maybe this is why we should have pet rats. Scabbers the rat goes and bites one of Draco Malfoy's friends, Knuckles, and they end up leaving because of it. So what do you think of Scabbers the rat and his bravery?
I kind of forgot about that part. I love it.
I know.
It was a great ending to that scene. Got him to go away.
I know.
Yeah, he said like horrible things to Harry, so
yeah, he was nasty.
We hate him. Good things will not come from that boy. I'm predicting it now.
Yeah. And even like everything good comes from the Weasleys. Even the rats that the Weasleys have are trained to bite annoying people. So that's a lovely little thing right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have anything else in this chapter? I have like things like, is 500 chocolate frogs an alarming amount of chocolate frogs to eat? Because Ron says he has 500 chocolate frog cards. So that's a little absurd.
I don't think I have any questions from this one.
All right. Let's go on to the last one, the Sorting Hat. Give me a summary of the Sorting Hat.
So how does it start? They go in, or they're led in a back way to like a back hallway.
Yeah.
And they hear a bunch of people out like in the front. So then they're brought up. I don't know if it's on stage or whatever, but the first years were all brought in to wear the Sorting Hat, and that assigns them the house that they're in.
Yeah, perfect.
But before they go in that big room, they're waiting in like the back room or something, and a bunch of ghosts come in.
Yep.
I guess I was a little thrown off by the ghosts.
Why?
I was a little bit like, ugh, okay.
Here we go.
Ghosts are coming in. Yeah, here we go with the 10 line of ghosts coming in. Okay, yeah. So then they go in and they do the Sorting Hat, and you have to wear the Sorting Hat, and it reads your mind and tells you which house you're going to go in. Yeah. So Harry, Ron, and Hermione are all Gryffindor, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Draco isn't he Slytherin?
Yeah, Draco Slytherin.
I guess there's like an interesting part where when Harry wears the hat, he's thinking, "Oh, I hope I'm not Slytherin," and the hat says that out loud. It knows he's thinking that.
Yeah.
But then the hat starts talking out loud, and the hat is like, "Well, let's see, you have some courage." The hat is like noticing all of his different characteristics, but then it ends up saying Gryffindor.
Yes. Yeah. Would you humor me for a second, and would you log on to wizardingworld.com?
How many questions is this?
It's one. We're just going to see what house you're in officially.
Well, is it a bunch of questions though for this test?
No, I don't think it's that many. I think it's just like a few basic ones. I think it's probably like 5. Wizardingworld.com. This is going to be great. We're going to see you get sorted live.
Yeah, this is a little...
Hold on. Before you do that, let's do a poll. Which house is Abbie going to be in?
If it's going to make me make an account, I'm out. I'm not giving a wizard site my precious personal email address.
All right. Are you in? Did you hack the system?
Well, I'm looking at quizzes and puzzles, and then it's true or false, the sorting edition.
Okay. So go down to... Where do they have it on the site now? Oh, on the very top menu, Hogwarts sorting. It says sign up to get sorted, but you're going to have to sign up to get sorted.
Why don't you sign up for me and just read the questions to me? It's what's my date of birth? Much too personal.
I could do that if you want me to. I could just sign up for you.
No, but I'm going to give it my work email, not my real email. And I'll just unsubscribe anyway. It's fine. Why do we need to put in like our email, our date of birth, my social security number, just to take a little Hogwarts quiz? Okay.
You got to walk us through it. When you got to ask the questions or answer the questions. Read them aloud.
Here we go. Dawn or dusk? Oh boy. Like, I need some context here. Just choose one?
Yeah, just choose one. What do you like better, dawn or dusk? Just what it's better the first one that pops into your head. All right,
dusk.
Good.
Okay. If you were attending Hogwarts, which pet would you choose to take with you? Oh, we've already discussed that.
There you go.
The options here are cats, toads, owls. Owl? Oh, okay, here we go. Now it's barn owl. Excuse me. Tawny owl. Snowy owl. Screech owl. Brown owl. A barn owl. For sure a barn owl.
I know what you're going to be.
Or the brown owl is also kind of speaking to me. No, my gut is really telling me barn owl. Okay. One of your housemates has cheated in a Hogwarts exam by using a self-spelling quiz. Oh, brother. Now he has come top of the class in charms, beating you in second place. Professor Flitwick is suspicious of what happened. He draws you to one side after his lesson and asks you whether or not your classmate used a forbidden quill. What do you do? Oof. Tell Professor Flitwick the truth. If your classmate is prepared to win by cheating, he deserves to be found out. As you're both in the same house. Oof. That's tough. You would not wait to be asked to tell Professor Flitwick the truth. If you knew somebody was using a forbidden quill, you would tell the teacher before the exam started. No. Lie and say you don't know, but hope that somebody else tells Professor Flitwick the truth. Tell Professor Flitwick that he ought to ask your classmate and resolve, that one. And resolve to tell your classmate that if he doesn't tell the truth, you will. I would definitely do that one.
Okay.
After you have died, what would you most like people to do when they hear your name? Wait. After you have died, what would you most like people to do when they hear your name? Okay. Ask for more stories about your adventures. Miss you but smile. Think with admiration of your achievements. I don't care what people think of me after I'm dead. It's what they think of me while I'm alive that counts. It's like getting quite morbid. Miss you but smile. We'll go with that. Once every century, the flutterby bush produces flowers that adapt their scent to attract the unwary. If it lured you, it would smell of... Okay, well, let's read them. The sea, home, a cracking log fire, fresh parchment. Okay, so fun fact about me is that I don't have the sense of smell.
Can't smell.
So this question is lost on me.
What did you answer it of though? Did you skip it?
I'm gonna say home.
Okay.
I'm sure I would love the smell of home. Okay.
Theoretically, the smell of home is really great, but
Theoretically, I would love home. If I could smell, I would smell home. A troll has gone berserk in the headmaster's study at Hogwarts. A troll? It is about to smash, crush, and tear several irreplaceable items and treasures. In which order would you rescue these objects from the Trolls Club if you could? A nearly perfect cure for dragon pox. What's making me... I don't know what they all are. Student records going back 1,000 years. A mysterious handwritten book full of strange runes. Well, I'll reorder.
I would just like watching you interact and doing this quiz. I can't believe
That was confusing. You didn't see all the...
Yeah, did you have to put them in order or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
If you could have any power, which would you choose? The power to read minds? The power to change the past? The power of invisibility? The power to speak to animals? The power of superhuman strength? The power to change your appearance at will? Oh, definitely the power of invisibility. What is yours? That one.
It might be that one too. I don't remember what I put for that one.
Heads or tails? Heads. The sorting hat is ready to make its decision.
All right.
What do you think I am?
I think you're going to be a Hufflepuff.
I am Hufflepuff.
I knew it.
Oh, wait. Oh. Wait, that's not the one. I'm Gryffindor is Harry. Okay, I'm Hufflepuff. You probably
Welcome
know that
to the
some of
best
Hufflepuff-
house.
I was in it first probably because I am older than you and I took the quiz a long time ago. And that makes sense. That's what this would have said.
It's the best
Sorting
house.
Hat has spoken. You probably know that some of Hufflepuff's most renowned members include Nymphadora Tonks.
Nymphadora Tonks, yeah. The legend Nymphadora Tonks.
And Cedric Diggory.
Uh-huh.
But did you know that
True
Hufflepuff's
Hogwarts
house
champion.
ghost, the Fat Friar, still resents the fact that he was never made a cardinal, or that Hufflepuff has produced the fewest dark wizards of any house at Hogwarts?
Ooh.
I'm not surprised.
I know. We're the
I'm not
best.
surprised.
We're the best. We're loyal to each other. We're the best Hufflepuffs. Welcome to House Hufflepuff. That makes me so excited. We're the same house.
Well, just died a little bit inside.
You left a part of your soul behind in like, somewhere. What was I going to just ask you? So for this chapter, they all get sorted into their houses. We're going to do like the wand one later. So we're going to figure out what wand you are later so you can use your work email for that one too.
What was people's guess?
Most people think Ravenclaw because you're a very astute and wise person. But I think you're more of a Hufflepuff. Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw for sure.
What of those questions would have been Ravenclaw? Like, this is interesting to me because when I have friends take the Enneagram quiz,
you know the questions
and I hear
that they're asking.
Well, I can hear a few and I'm like, oh, I know what you are right away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When you were taking the quiz, I knew you were going to be Hufflepuff because the questions were leading. What? So, like the one that was the one that was when you die, what would you want people to be or think of you? Yeah, that's like a very Hufflepuff answer. You're loyal. You just want to have friends and you just want to have good people around you. Looking back on all your accomplishments is a very Slytherin thing. They're the most ambitious of the lot. The brave thing is like, I don't care what happens when I die. I'm going to go and live life right now. That's a Gryffindor quality. And I don't remember what the other one was. I think the other one was like, look back in someone's life and just remember it. And like, I don't know. I don't remember what the last one was. But the Hufflepuff answer is look back and smile on it. That's like a very typical one.
I'm going to have to do a deep dive into Enneagram overlap in the different houses.
Yeah, that'd actually be fascinating. I gotta look that up. We'll have a whole discussion on that. That'd be pretty interesting.
The characteristics of it.
Yeah. Look at you. Getting into personality theory and Harry Potter.
The achievements. I bet there's overlap.
Oh, for sure.
The achievement things. I feel like stereotypical threes are very like achievement oriented.
Yeah.
Did you say that was Slytherin?
Yeah, Slytherins, yeah. There's probably a lot of carryover between the two for them. And I feel like a lot of nines are in Hufflepuff because they're peacemakers and they don't want a lot of issues. I like maybe a lot of fours and a lot of fives are Ravenclaws. I'm like a rare 5 that's not a Ravenclaw.
An Enneagram 6 is one of their attributes that you read about is loyalty. So I could see overlap with that.
We'll have to do a deep dive on this next podcast.
I'll have to think more about that. Yeah, I'll have to read more about the characteristics.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, now we know what I am.
Welcome to Hufflepuff. We're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're a part of the house.
All right.
So the Sorting Hat says this: there's nothing hidden in your head that the Sorting Hat can't see. But the Sorting Hat had a difficult time with sorting a few students. The Sorting Hat it took a really long time for 2 in particular, besides Harry. It took a long time for Seamus Finnegan and Neville Longbottom. Why do you think it would take the Sorting Hat a long time to sort someone and a short time to sort someone else?
I didn't pick up on that.
Because it barely even touched Draco's head, and he was in the Slytherin.
Is Draco the bad guy? Draco Malfoy, yeah. I think Draco's just a bad apple. But I don't know. Different people have different qualities.
Yeah.
Do you think people were trying to trick it? I think the Sorting Hat would know.
Do you think Harry was trying to trick it?
No, I think Harry is too pure-hearted, but maybe some others were trying to.
How would you trick the Sorting Hat?
Just think of certain things.
It wasn't that what Harry was doing though? He was like literally asking the Sorting Hat anything but Slytherin. The Sorting Hat was like, you'd fit really well in Slytherin. You're an ambitious kid. I feel like Slytherin is the spot for you.
But he wasn't trying to manipulate it to me, or he was like thinking.
Yeah, he was just kind of being open and honest about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're not trying to manipulate it.
Because he says you could be great, you know. It's all here in your head, and Slytherin will help you on your way to greatness. No doubt about that. No? Well, if you're sure, better be Gryffindor. And he gets in Gryffindor. But why would the Sorting Hat think that he would be good in Slytherin? Does Harry seem at all like a Slytherin?
No, but maybe he would be challenged more in that one.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting one, yeah.
Maybe it would refine his... I don't know. Maybe it would grow him in other aspects of his personality. Or not. I don't know.
Stop psychoanalyzing everything that I do. Every look that I give, you're going to be like, no, I answered that wrong. Let me take it back.
Not that. Yeah, I don't know.
What is your first impression of the 2 other characters that we kind of meet in this? Again, McGonagall, who like leads all the students into the sorting ceremony. What's your impression of her? And then what's your impression of Dumbledore, who gives the speech at the end?
Dumbledore seems like a wise. He just seems like a authority figure, like a hopefully good, like authority figure.
Yeah.
McGonagall, I feel like there's some line about her that she's difficult, maybe, or
like stern.
They're scared of her or stern. Yeah. So I like the cat version of her the best. That's how we meet her.
You still just like
it's her.
Cat McGonagall.
Yeah, I just like her as Cat reading a map. Yeah, I don't really know like what she's all about yet.
And then you're gonna roast me for this question, but where do ghosts come from?
I don't actually know here. When they came in that scene, in my head, I was like, are these little round, like boop boop ghosts? Or are they like dead people, like dead bodies? Like,
Wait.
what do they look like? Are they like cartoon ghosts?
What do you mean round people ghosts?
Like when you said cartoon ghost, like Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Oh,
It's like a little
okay,
round
okay,
thing versus
yeah.
like a dead body
No,
ghost.
this is like a dead body ghost.
Yeah, that's gross. I don't like that.
How do you become a ghost?
You die and your spirit gets stuck. That's what they say.
So do you think every wizard becomes a ghost when they die? Or do you think it's only a select few? And would you want to become a ghost?
I would not want to become a ghost, but I'm going to say that the wizards can choose if they want to be ghosts.
Interesting.
When they pass on.
Okay. Very, very interesting.
One ghost that I really wasn't having it about is Nearly Headless Nick.
Why were you not having it about him?
The visual of, they ask why he's called Nearly Headless Nick, and he tilts his head, his severed head over. That was so graphic. And I was listening to that for an audiobook the other day when I was sick. So I already didn't feel good. And I was like, that's disgusting. I don't like that.
You're not going to like these books, Chase, based on like graphic descriptions in them. Like gross food.
That was graphic.
Yeah, that was
Picturing
gross.
someone's like raw severed neck. That's gross.
So like essentially the equivalent of a sixth graders. That's pretty nasty. That's pretty graphic.
What's the equivalent of a sixth grader?
The Harry's year right now. He's in his first year. He's essentially entering into middle school.
Yeah.
Which is
gross.
an extreme age to be seeing people with severed heads like that. That's a little nuts.
A little much. Yeah.
So these are two more lines that we get. It says, it happened suddenly. The hook-nosed teacher looked past Quirrell's turban straight into Harry's eyes, and a sharp, hot pain shot across the scar on Harry's forehead. What's happening there?
I suspected this question. Well, we also have some foreshadowing here. Can you hear my dog barking downstairs?
Very faintly, yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Who are the people again in it?
Quirrell and Snape.
Snape.
Mm-hmm.
Bad news written all over him.
Yeah.
We obviously know something's going to go down. Snape is somehow connected to Voldemort. That whole flashback or experience it like ignites the pain in his lightning bolt.
Okay.
So it either it's connected to that or it's foreshadowing something's going to happen.
Is that
directly tied to Voldemort though?
It's directly tied to Voldemort. So
in some way, it's tied to
that. Are one of those two characters tied to Voldemort in some way?
Snape.
So you think
absolutely Snape?
Okay.
Hands down, he is Voldemort too. He's a Voldemort wannabe, but he's disguised as a professor he really is a professor, but he's an underling of Voldemort.
What do you mean like an underling? Like an understudy? Like he's a servant of Voldemort? Or do you think he's like, he wants to be better than Voldemort?
By both.
Interesting. So
he's definitely wants to keep Voldemort's spirit alive, but he's trying to trick. He's infiltrated. He's a spy.
Interesting. So you think Severus Snape is a spy, but he's a teacher. How could he be a spy as a teacher?
He's infiltrated.
All right.
It's like when spies infiltrate like the CIA or the government or something. It happens all the time.
So you just don't trust and you don't like Snape at all here?
No, not one bit. Not an ounce.
Why? Why do you not like him so much? Because we don't really know how bad energy.
The name.
Yeah.
Just the name sounds like an evil little something. And that interaction right there. And there's something else. Nothing about him is good, positive, or light. He is dark, dark, dark.
Interesting. Okay. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of like, another thing that I love these books for is the interplay of good and bad. Like you get this one character who you think is really bad, but then you get like a line like this, which is like fun stuff happening in the midst of these weird people. where it says everybody finished the song at different times when they're singing the Hogwarts theme song, which we're going to sing at the end of this podcast. So you know.
How many times have you sung the Hogwarts song?
People want me to get you to sing it right now. So I said you're going to roast me too much.
Sing it. I would like to get you to sing it.
Hoggy Wordy Hogwarts. Teach us something, please.
No, you have to sing it with some inflection in your voice. That's not singing it.
I can't sing. I'm not a good singer. And Wes is trying to tear my arm off over here anyway.
That sounds like an excuse.
I'll sing it another time. We'll make a whole video of me just singing it.
Okay.
But this is a line where everybody finished the song at different times. At last, only the Weasley twins were left singing alone to a very slow funeral march. Dumbledore conducted their last few lines with his wand. And when they had finished, he was one of those who clapped loudest. Ah, music, he said, wiping his eyes. A magic beyond all we do here. And now, bedtime. Off you trot. I just love that line, too. It's like, even in the midst of like weird stuff happening at Hogwarts now, they're still singing and they're still like goodness. And the twins are still having a good time just singing their slow little funeral march, and Dumbledore's, orchestrating them. It's a good image of who these characters are.
Yeah. Singing is unifying, brings people together. They're having a nice first night at their school.
Yeah, absolutely. Any last questions that you have before we get into the final questions?
Oh my gosh. I don't think so. Let me look. No. No further questions.
I rest my case.
Not at this time.
Are you, so we talked about this before, but you're.
Wait, I do have a question.
Oh, okay. All right.
I wrote down to you. I knew I was going to ask you how often you sing the school. And here's my next one. Are you ready? Do you say it like the Pledge of Allegiance?
Every morning when I wake up, I have my wands all on my wall.
At night,
and I say,
at night you kneel before your sword.
Hogwarts, Hoggy teach us something, please.
There we go. At night you kneel to the sword, and in the morning you pledge your allegiance to Hogwarts.
100%. You've nailed me on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know that. I know. Okay.
Soon you're going to be there. Soon before we start every podcast, we're going to be singing the Hogwarts theme song, and you're going to be doing with gusto and vigor.
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get there, to be honest. But I think you're going to enjoy the series. I do think you're going to like it.
Yeah. We'll start baby steps.
All right. Who is your favorite character in these 4 chapters? Just do these 4.
Yeah.
So you can't say the cat. Hagrid. Why?
Because like I said, I like the energy he came in with.
Yeah.
I like how he entered the cabin.
Little pudding of the sun.
Just walking around. And he advocated for Harry, and I like that.
Yeah. He's great. I think I'm gonna give mine to Ron. I love his friend energy. He's a good friend.
Yeah.
In these.
That's a good one.
Who's the hot tamale? And we can always defer on hot tamale awards because sometimes these chapters
can be optional.
Yeah.
But I would say the same thing I just said. Hagrid.
Yeah.
Just because of the way he like commanded the room when he came in.
Yeah. He's just like a little warm kind of figure. He's great.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Hagrid's a good answer for that one. I'm gonna go Hagrid for that one too. And then, what's your favorite moment in these chapters?
Probably. There's a bunch of good moments, to be honest. Hard to pick a favorite, but
look at you struggling to find a favorite in these.
Well, because there's lots of good moments for Harry. I like when, I forget which chapter, maybe the end of chapter 5 after they've got his school supplies, where Harry's like having all these doubts, and he's like, these people don't know who I am. Like, I'm not a great wizard. And Hagrid basically is just like looks at him with like such kindness, and he's like reassures him and like encourages him.
Yeah. It's like, relax.
You're going to be good. Yeah. And I feel like I love that. Like, for someone to just like see him and believe in him and encourage him. That's my favorite.
That's fantastic. I was going to say, the sorting ceremony, but you changed my mind a few minutes ago when you talked about Mrs. Weasley ushering Harry into platform 9 3/4. I think that's a really profound and beautiful moment. Like, I've never thought about it that way. So you're helping me understand Harry Potter even more now. Look at you.
That's what it's all about.
I know, exactly. I just love that. I think that she does a great job there of ushering Harry into the new world and teaching Harry like a little lesson. When you're afraid sometimes, you just got to do things at a run, you know? So I love that. That's great. Well,
There we go.
we're going to keep reading. We're going to do another maybe 4 chapters, and then we'll go from there. But thanks for joining us on our journey of Harry Potter and the First Time Readers as Wes rips off my arm. Until next time. I'm glad that you might not be like liking it more than previous, but you seem to kind of
I'm engaged.
be engaged.
I'm not obsessed.
You
I'm
seem
not
to be
selling my soul.
tolerating
the way
my
that you
Harry
have.
Potter nerddom.
Yeah, I'm engaging. I'm enjoying it. It's a good book to read when you're not feeling like when I was not feeling well.
Yeah.
And
It's
the
lighthearted, right?
audiobook is cool too. Yeah. The one day I couldn't read it, but the audiobook, like listening to it, I could like picture the whole world like in my
Yeah.
mind.
Oh
It
my
was cool.
gosh.